Vincent Ashford stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse office, watching the city lights flicker below like distant stars. At 36 years old, he owned half the commercial buildings in the skyline before him. His wealth could buy anything except the one thing he never knew he needed. People called him brilliant, ruthless, untouchable. They were right on all counts. His days followed a precise rhythm. Morning meetings at 7, investor calls by 9, lunch meetings that were never about food, and evenings spent reviewing contracts until his eyes burned. Weekends meant nothing. Holidays were just another Tuesday. His calendar was full, but his life was empty. The invisible angel. Clara Bennett had worked in Vincent's sprawling apartment for 4 years. She arrived before dawn and left after dark, managing every detail of his personal life with quiet efficiency. She knew he preferred his coffee black and scalding hot. She knew he couldn't sleep without the bedroom at exactly 68 degrees. She knew he touched the photo frame on his desk every morning, the one with his late parents, though he never spoke of them. What Vincent didn't know was that Clara watched him with a heart full of love that grew stronger each day. She saw beyond the sharp suits and sharper words. She noticed how he fed the stray cat on the balcony when he thought no one was looking. She heard him playing the guitar late at night, old songs that sounded like longing. She found the donation receipts to children's hospitals that he hid in his desk drawer. Clara never went to college, but she read every book she could find. She came from a small town where dreams were luxuries few could afford. Working for Vincent was supposed to be temporary, just until she saved enough to help her sister Sophie finish school. But somewhere between folding his shirts and organizing his library, she had fallen hopelessly in love with a man who barely knew her name. The day everything shattered. The autumn rain came without warning, turning the streets into rivers of chaos. Vincent had just closed the biggest deal of his career. $30 million in under 2 hours. He felt invincible as he slid into his silver sports car, waving off his driver. He needed speed, needed to feel something other than the hollow victory echoing in his chest. The road curved sharply near the bridge. Vincent took it too fast. The tires lost their grip. Time slowed as the car spun, metal screaming against concrete. Then came the impact. The world exploded into pain and darkness. Clara was arranging fresh flowers in the living room when her phone buzzed. The news alert made her heart stop. Billionaire Vincent Ashford critical condition after highway accident. The vase slipped from her hands, water and glass spreading across the marble floor. She didn't notice. She was already running. Hospital corridors and breaking hearts. The hospital smelled of disinfectant and despair. Clara sat in the waiting room for 3 days, leaving only to change clothes. She brought him fresh pajamas, his favorite books, things she knew would comfort him even though she couldn't get past the intensive care unit doors. The nurses began to recognize her, this small woman with tired eyes who refused to leave. When they finally moved Vincent to a private room, the doctor's words were heavy with reality. Multiple fractures, severe tissue damage, months of recovery ahead. He would need constant care, patience, and time. 3 things Vincent Ashford had never needed from anyone. Clara waited until visiting hours, her hands shaking as she pushed open his door. Vincent lay motionless, his powerful frame diminished by white sheets and medical equipment. His face was pale, bruised, vulnerable in a way she had never seen. When his eyes opened and found hers, confusion flickered across his features. "Clara?" His voice was rough, uncertain. "Mr. Ashford." She moved closer, professional habit keeping her voice steady even as her heart raced. "I brought you some things from home. Your tablet, in case you want to check emails. Your reading glasses." He stared at her for a long moment. "You came." "Of course. No one else did." The words came out flat, stating a fact rather than seeking sympathy. His business partners had sent elaborate flower arrangements with cards signed by assistants. His social circle had posted concerned messages online. But his room remained empty except for Clara and the machines monitoring his broken body. The desperate proposal. Over the next 2 weeks, Clara became a fixture in his recovery. She read him market reports when his eyes were too strained. She snuck in real food when hospital meals made him lose his appetite. She sat in comfortable silence when talking hurt too much. Vincent found himself watching the clock, waiting for her arrival, feeling something close to disappointment when she had to leave. The day before his discharge, panic seized him. The thought of returning to his empty apartment, of strangers touching him, moving him, seeing him weak and dependent, filled him with a terror more intense than the accident itself. His world had always been built on control. Now he had none. Clara. He spoke her name as she was packing his belongings. She turned, and he saw the care in her eyes, the genuine concern that had nothing to do with his money or status. "I need to ask you something." She waited, patient as always. Pride fought with need in his throat. "Need one. Don't let them send nurses. I can't have strangers in my home. Stay with me. I'll pay you anything. Triple your salary. More. Name your price." Clara's breath caught. She saw the fear he was trying to hide, the humiliation of having to ask. Vincent continued, his voice dropping to something almost broken. "You don't have to pretend to care. You don't have to love me. Just stay. Take care of me. Please. I'm begging you." Tears burned Clara's eyes. He had no idea. For years of loving him silently, and he thought she would need to pretend. She wanted to tell him the truth, that caring for him wasn't work but devotion, that loving him wasn't a burden but her heart's deepest truth. But the words stuck in her throat. Instead, she simply nodded. "I'll stay, Mr. Ashford. For as long as you need me." Relief flooded his face. He closed his eyes, not seeing the single tear that traced down her cheek. He thought he had bought her time and care. He had no idea she had been freely giving him her heart all along. The penthouse felt different when Vincent returned. The spaces that once echoed with emptiness now held Clara's gentle presence everywhere. She had transformed the guest room next to his into her own quarters, close enough to hear if he needed help during the night. The first morning, Vincent woke to unfamiliar sounds. Someone was humming softly in the kitchen, a melody he didn't recognize but found strangely comforting. Clara appeared in his doorway carrying a breakfast tray. Her hair was pulled back simply, and she wore comfortable clothes instead of her usual formal uniform. She looked younger somehow, more real. "Good morning. I made scrambled eggs the way you like them, with just a touch of cream. And your coffee." Vincent struggled to sit up, his pride warring with his body's limitations. Clara set the tray down and moved to help him, her hands steady and sure as she adjusted the pillows behind his back. Her touch was clinical yet tender, and Vincent found himself acutely aware of how close she was, the faint scent of lavender that clung to her skin. "Thank you," he managed, the words still foreign in his mouth. Gratitude was not something he had much practice expressing. Breaking down the walls. The days developed their own rhythm. Physical therapy sessions 3 times a week left Vincent exhausted and frustrated. He had always pushed his body hard at the gym, maintaining control through discipline and strength. Now his own legs betrayed him, and simple tasks became mountains to climb. Clara was there through every painful step, every moment of weakness he wanted to hide. One afternoon, Vincent lost his balance during an exercise. Clara caught him, her small frame somehow supporting his weight as she guided him safely to the chair. He expected pity in her eyes. Instead, he found determination. "You're stronger than you think," she said firmly. "Your body is healing. Give it time." "Time is something I've never had patience for," Vincent replied bitterly. "Then maybe it's time to learn." Clara handed him a glass of water, her fingers brushing his. Not everything valuable happens quickly, Mr. Ashford. Some of the best things take years to grow. He looked at her sharply, sensing layers in her words he couldn't quite grasp. Like what? Clara smiled softly, turning away. Like trust. Like understanding. Like knowing someone beyond their surface. Discovering the woman behind the shadow. Vincent began to notice things he had missed for 4 years. How Clara's face lit up when she found a new book at the second-hand store. How she always placed fresh flowers in the living room, choosing colors that matched the changing seasons. How she kept a small notebook where she wrote down thoughts and observations in elegant handwriting. One evening, curiosity overcame him. What do you write in that notebook? Clara looked up from where she sat reading across from him. She hesitated, then handed it to him. Mostly silly things. Quotes from books. Ideas that interest me. Vincent opened it carefully, feeling like he was holding something precious and private. The pages were filled with her thoughts. Poetry she had copied down. Observations about human nature. A list titled Things That Make Life Beautiful that included thunderstorms, honest laughter, and the smell of old books. Near the back, he found a pressed flower, dried lavender between 2 pages. Why lavender? He asked. My mother used to grow it in our garden. She said it represented devotion and peace. When she got sick, I would put it under her pillow to help her sleep. Clara's voice grew soft with memory. She taught me that caring for someone you love is never a burden. It's a privilege. Vincent felt something shift in his chest. You never talk about your mother. You never asked. There was no accusation in her words, just simple truth. He realized with uncomfortable clarity how little he knew about the woman who had been part of his daily life for so long. Tell me now. Please. The stories between them. Clara spoke about her childhood in a small coastal town. Her father had been a fisherman who died in a storm when she was 12. Her mother worked 3 jobs to keep Clara and Sophie fed and in school, until illness claimed her strength 5 years ago. Clara had cared for her mother through 2 years of decline, learning that love meant showing up every single day, even when it hurt. That's when I learned to be strong, Clara said quietly. Not for myself, but for someone who needed me. After she passed, I came to the city to work so Sophie could stay in school. She wants to be a teacher. She's smart, much smarter than me. I doubt that, Vincent said, surprising himself with the vehemence in his voice. You're one of the most intelligent people I've ever met. You just never had the opportunities you deserved. Clara looked at him, startled. You really believe that? I'm stating a fact. You organize my entire life with more efficiency than my executive assistant manages my company. You read more than anyone I know. You understand people in ways I never could. Vincent met her eyes. I've been blind, Clara. For 4 years, I've been blind. The touch that changed everything. Late one night, Vincent couldn't sleep. The pain medication left him restless and his mind racing with thoughts he couldn't organize. He heard soft footsteps outside his door, then a gentle knock. Can't sleep either? Clara asked, entering with 2 cups of herbal tea. She had learned he responded better to chamomile than pills when anxiety kept him awake. They sat together in the dim light of his bedroom, talking about nothing and everything. Vincent told her about his childhood, about parents who loved their business more than their sons, about a brother named Richard who disappeared years ago after a bitter fight over their father's will. He talked about building his empire to prove something to people who were no longer alive to see it. What are you trying to prove? Clara asked gently. That I matter. That I'm more than just another name on a tombstone someday. The admission cost him something, revealing a vulnerability he had protected for decades. You matter, Vincent. She used his first name for the first time, and it sounded like a gift. Not because of your money or your buildings. You matter because you're human, because you have a good heart you've spent years hiding. You see things in me that aren't there, he said roughly. No. I see things in you that you've forgotten are there. Clara reached out, her hand covering his where it rested on the blanket. Her touch was warm, grounding. I've watched you for 4 years. I know who you are when you think no one is looking. That's the real Vincent Ashford. He turned his hand over, lacing his fingers through hers. The gesture was intimate, crossing boundaries they had carefully maintained. Why did you stay? The truth, Clara. It wasn't just for the money. Her eyes filled with tears she didn't try to hide. Because caring for you has never felt like work. Because every morning I woke up grateful to be part of your life, even if you didn't notice me. Because somewhere between organizing your files and making your coffee, I fell in love with you. The words hung in the air between them, for years of silence finally broken. Vincent's grip on her hand tightened. His heart was pounding, but not from pain or medication. This was something entirely different, entirely terrifying, entirely wonderful. You love me, he repeated, as if testing the words. Even when I treated you like you were invisible. Even when I was cold and demanding. Even when I was broken. Especially when you were broken, Clara whispered. That's when I finally got to see the real you. The man behind the walls. The one I've loved all along. Vincent pulled her closer, his free hand reaching up to cup her face. I don't deserve you. Love isn't about deserving, she said, her tears falling freely now. It's about choosing, every single day, to care for someone's heart like it's more precious than your own. He kissed her then, softly at first, then deeper as years of loneliness met years of patient love. When they finally pulled apart, both were trembling. Vincent rested his forehead against hers, breathing in the lavender scent that had become home to him. I don't know how to do this, he admitted. I don't know how to love someone properly. I've spent so long alone. Then we'll learn together, Clara promised. One day at a time. No rushing, no pressure. Just us, figuring it out. For the first time in his adult life, Vincent Ashford smiled with his whole heart. The empire he had built suddenly seemed less important than the woman holding his hand in the darkness, the one who had loved him silently for years and was finally, beautifully, his. 3 months passed like a dream Vincent never wanted to end. His body healed steadily under Clara's devoted care, but more importantly, his heart learned to open in ways he never thought possible. They spent evenings cooking together, Clara teaching him that food tasted better when made with laughter. They watched old movies she loved, and Vincent discovered the joy of experiencing the world through her eyes. Every small moment became precious because they shared it. Vincent's company continued running smoothly under his remote management, but he found himself caring less about quarterly reports and more about whether Clara's sister Sophie had passed her teaching exams. He started making plans that included someone else, thinking about futures that looked nothing like his carefully controlled past. For the first time in his life, he understood what it meant to build something that mattered more than money. But happiness, Vincent was about to learn, sometimes attracted darkness. The brothers' return. Richard Ashford arrived on a cold November morning without warning. Clara answered the door to find a man who looked remarkably like Vincent, but with harder eyes and a smile that never reached them. He wore an expensive suit that somehow looked cheap on him, and he carried himself with the swagger of someone who believed the world owed him something. Well. The help answers the door now? Richard pushed past her into the penthouse. Where's my dear brother? I heard about his little accident. Took me a while to track him down since he's been hiding away like a hermit. Vincent emerged from his study, moving with only a slight limp now. His face went cold when he saw Richard. What are you doing here? That's how you greet your only family? I'm hurt, Vincent. Truly. Richard's eyes scanned the apartment, calculating, assessing. They landed on Clara with uncomfortable intensity. And who might this lovely creature be? Don't tell me the Ice King finally found himself a companion. Clara is none of your business, Vincent said, his voice dropping to a dangerous tone Clara had never heard before. You have 60 seconds to tell me what you want before I have security remove you. Richard laughed, pulling an envelope from his jacket. Always so dramatic. I'm here about our father's will. Seems there was a codicil nobody knew about. Old Patterson's firm just discovered it in some archives. If you're incapacitated for more than 90 days, control of the family trust reverts to me. And brother, you've been out of commission for exactly 93 days. The words hit like a physical blow. Vincent's face drained of color. That's impossible. I've been managing everything remotely. Managing, yes. But not physically present at the office, not attending board meetings in person, not fulfilling the specific requirements Dad laid out. He never trusted you completely, Vincent. Always thought you were too cold, too isolated. Guess he was right to have a backup plan. Richard's smile was poisonous. The trust is worth $400 million. I'll be generous and let you keep your little penthouse. Consider it a parting gift. The impossible choice. After Richard left, Vincent stood frozen by the window. Clara approached carefully, her hand finding his. Vincent, we'll fight this. There must be lawyers who can help. Mrs. Patterson already called. She confirmed everything. His voice was hollow. My father put that clause in because he thought I was incapable of human connection. He believed I would end up alone and broken, exactly like I am now. You're not broken, Clara said firmly. And you're not alone. Vincent turned to her, and she saw something that frightened her. Desperation mixed with determination. There's one way to contest it. If I can prove I'm recovered and capable of resuming full duties immediately, the clause becomes void. Mrs. Patterson said I have 2 weeks to demonstrate complete physical and mental fitness for the board. But you're not ready for that yet. The doctors said you need at least another month of therapy before returning to full activity. Then I'll push harder. I'll do whatever it takes. Vincent's hands gripped her shoulders. I can't let Richard win, Clara. He'll destroy everything our parents built. He'll run the company into the ground and leave thousands of employees without jobs. I have to fight this. Clara saw the old Vincent returning, the one who viewed everything as a battle to be won through force of will. Not at the cost of your health. Not at the cost of everything we've built together. What we've built. Vincent's laugh was bitter. Clara, without my company, without my money, what am I? Just another broken man with nothing to offer. Richard was right about one thing. I've been hiding here, playing house, pretending that love is enough. But love doesn't pay bills. Love doesn't save companies. Love doesn't prove my father wrong. The words cut through Clara like glass. Is that what you think? That these months meant nothing? That we were just playing pretend? I don't know what I think anymore. Vincent pulled away from her, his walls rebuilding themselves brick by brick. Maybe I need to focus on what I'm actually good at. Business. Control. Winning. The price of pride. The next 2 weeks were torture. Vincent threw himself into preparing for the board evaluation with manic intensity. He worked 18-hour days, pushed through physical therapy with reckless determination, and treated Clara like she was just his employee again. The distance between them grew with each passing day. Clara watched the man she loved disappear back into his armor. She continued caring for him, but now he barely acknowledged her presence. He took calls during meals. He slept at his desk. He stopped touching her, stopped talking to her about anything beyond his schedule. Sophie called one evening, excited about her new teaching position. It's everything I dreamed of, Clara. And it's all because of you. You sacrificed so much for me. After hanging up, Clara sat in the dark living room, tears streaming down her face. She had sacrificed, yes. But not for money or duty. For love. And now that love was slipping through her fingers like water, Richard visited twice more, each time bringing new legal documents, new challenges, new ways to twist the knife. On his last visit, he found Clara alone in the kitchen. "You know, you're quite beautiful when you're sad," he said, leaning against the counter. "Vincent doesn't appreciate what he has. He never did. Always so focused on proving himself that he misses what's right in front of him." "Please leave," Clara said quietly. "I could make you an offer. When I take over the company, I'll need people I can trust. Someone with your skills, your dedication. I pay very well." His eyes traveled over her in a way that made her skin crawl. "Very well indeed. I'm not interested in anything you're offering." Richard shrugged. "Your loss. But remember this conversation when Vincent discards you. Men like us, we don't stay soft for long. He'll go back to his old ways, and you'll be left with nothing but memories of a few months when you pretended to matter." The breaking point. The night before the board evaluation, Vincent worked until 3 in the morning. Clara found him collapsed at his desk, his body finally giving out from exhaustion. She helped him to bed, and for a moment, he looked at her with something like his old tenderness. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "For everything. For pushing you away. For forgetting what matters." "Then don't go tomorrow," Clara pleaded. "Your health matters more than any company. We can find another way." "There is no other way." Vincent's hand found hers in the darkness. "But I need you to know something. These months with you were real. The happiest I've ever been. If I lose everything tomorrow, at least I'll have that." "You don't have to lose anything," Clara said desperately. "Just choose us. Choose this life we built. Choose love over pride." Vincent was silent for a long moment. Then he pulled his hand away. "I have to prove I'm more than the broken man my father thought I would become. I have to win this, Clara. Even if it costs me everything else." Clara felt her heart shatter. She stood up, tears blinding her. "Then you've already lost what matters most." The grand gesture. The morning of the evaluation arrived gray and cold. Vincent dressed in his sharpest suit, looking every inch the powerful businessman. Clara helped him with his tie, their fingers touching one last time. "Good luck," she whispered. "Thank you. For everything." Vincent hesitated, then kissed her forehead gently. "I'll be back tonight. We can talk then." But Clara knew better. She had seen the choice in his eyes. Business over love. Pride over healing. Victory over happiness. She couldn't watch him destroy himself anymore. She packed her things while he was gone. Not much, just the few belongings she had brought to his world. She left a letter on his pillow, words she couldn't say to his face because her heart was breaking too completely. The board meeting was held in the company's main conference room. 20 executives watched as Vincent presented himself, demonstrating his physical recovery, his mental sharpness, his readiness to resume full control. He was brilliant, commanding, everything his father had built him to be. Richard sat in the corner, his expression dark as he watched his victory slip away. Mrs. Patterson reviewed the medical reports, the documentation, the evidence. Everything pointed to Vincent's complete recovery. "Mr. Ashford," the board chairman said finally. "We're impressed with your presentation. However, we have some concerns about your judgment during this recovery period. We've received reports that you've been isolated, potentially making decisions without proper consultation." Vincent frowned. "I've been in constant communication with my management team." "That's not what we mean." The chairman exchanged glances with Mrs. Patterson. "We're concerned about your personal judgment. Your father's codicil wasn't just about physical capacity. It was about emotional and mental fitness. About being a whole person capable of balanced decision-making. Richard leaned forward, sensing an opportunity. My brother has always been emotionally unstable. Isolated. Incapable of real human connection. That's why our father had concerns. Actually, Mrs. Patterson interrupted, pulling out another document. There's a second part to the codicil that Richard neglected to mention. Your father specified that the trust should go to whichever son demonstrated not just business acumen, but the capacity for genuine human relationship. The ability to value people over profit. To build something lasting beyond money. The room went silent. Mrs. Patterson continued. I took the liberty of investigating both of your lives these past weeks. Richard, you have a string of failed relationships, employees who fear you, and a reputation for valuing nothing beyond your own advancement. Vincent, until recently, you were heading down the same path. She slid a folder across the table to Vincent. But then something changed. Your household staff, your therapists, even your doorman, they all tell the same story. You became someone different. Someone capable of kindness, of gratitude, of love. There's a woman named Clara Bennett who transformed you. Vincent's hands shook as he opened the folder. Inside were statements from everyone who had witnessed his transformation. The physical therapist who saw how he looked at Clara. The doorman who noticed how he smiled now. Even the delivery person who mentioned Vincent had started asking about people's families, remembering their names. Your father wanted his legacy to go to a son who understood that true wealth isn't measured in dollars, Mrs. Patterson said. It's measured in the lives we touch, the love we give, the person we become when we stop trying to prove something. Vincent stood abruptly, his chair scraping back. I need to go. Right now. Mr. Ashford, we haven't finished, the chairman said. It doesn't matter. Vincent's voice broke. None of this matters if I've already lost what's actually important. My father was right. I was becoming exactly what he feared. But Clara showed me a different way, and I threw it away because I was too proud, too scared to choose love over winning. He turned to Richard. You want the company? Take it. Take everything. I don't care anymore. Richard's eyes widened in shock. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. Vincent was already moving toward the door. The trust, the company, all of it. I choose her. I choose the life we were building. I choose love. The race home. Vincent ran through the building, ignoring the pain in his leg, ignoring the startled looks from employees. His driver was waiting, but Vincent grabbed the keys himself. He drove too fast through the city streets, his heart pounding with fear that he was too late. The penthouse was quiet when he burst through the door. Too quiet. Clara? Clara. He found her letter on his bed, his hands trembling as he read her words. She wrote about loving him enough to let him go, about not wanting to be the thing that held him back from his father's approval. She wrote about returning to her sister, about rebuilding her simple life. She wrote that she would always treasure the months they had, even if he had forgotten their value. Vincent felt tears streaming down his face, something he hadn't done since he was a child. He had been so focused on proving he wasn't broken that he had shattered the one perfect thing in his life. He called her phone. No answer. He called her sister Sophie, who answered on the third ring. Mr. Ashford? Clara said you might call. She asked me to tell you she's grateful for everything, and she wishes you well. Sophie, please. Where is she? I need to tell her I made a mistake. I need her to know I choose her over everything. There was a long pause. She's at the bus station. Her bus leaves in 20 minutes. Vincent was running again before Sophie finished speaking. The station platform. The bus station was crowded with people coming and going, each carrying their own stories. Vincent pushed through the crowd, searching desperately. Then he saw her, standing alone by platform 7, a small suitcase at her feet. Clara. She turned, her eyes widening in shock. He ran to her, not caring who was watching, not caring about anything except reaching her. Vincent? What are you doing here? The meeting. I walked away. I told them they could have everything. The company, the trust, all of it. He grabbed her hands, holding them like they were the only thing keeping him grounded. You were right. I was choosing pride over love. I was becoming the man my father feared I would be. But I don't want to be that person anymore. You gave up your company? Clara's voice was barely a whisper. I gave up nothing that matters. Clara, you asked me once what I was trying to prove. I finally know the answer. Nothing. I don't need to prove anything anymore. I just need you. I need the life we were building before I was stupid enough to let fear drive you away. Tears were streaming down Clara's face. But Richard will destroy everything your parents built. Actually, he won't. Mrs. Patterson's voice came from behind them. The elderly lawyer approached with a smile. The board voted unanimously. Based on Vincent's decision today, his willingness to choose love over empire, they determined he fulfilled the true intent of his father's will. The trust remains his. If he wants it. Vincent didn't take his eyes off Clara. I want you to decide. If you want me to keep the company, I will. If you want me to give it all away and start over with nothing, I'll do that too. Whatever you choose, as long as I'm choosing you. Clara reached up, touching his face with trembling fingers. I don't want you to give up your dreams. I want you to build something beautiful with your company, to honor your parents' legacy. But I want you to do it as the man you've become, not the man you were. The one who understands that people matter more than profit. That love is the greatest investment we can make. Then help me do it, Vincent said, pulling her close. Be my partner in everything. Not my employee, not my caretaker. My equal, my love, my future. Marry me, Clara. Build this life with me. Yes, she whispered against his chest. Yes to everything. Yes to love. Yes to building something beautiful together. Yes to you, always you. They kissed there on the platform while buses came and went, while strangers smiled at the sight of two people finding their way back to each other. When they finally pulled apart, Vincent was smiling through his tears. I have a confession, he said. I've loved you longer than I realized. Maybe from that first night in the hospital when you stayed. Maybe even before that, in all those moments I was too blind to see you. I just needed to be broken enough to let the light in. Clara laughed, the sound like music. Then I'm grateful for your accident. Not for your pain, but for the gift it gave us. The chance to really see each other. They walked out of the station hand in hand, leaving her suitcase forgotten on the platform. They would return to the penthouse together, but it would be different now. It would be a home instead of a showcase. A place where love lived instead of just success. In the months that followed, Vincent transformed his company culture, making it a place that valued people and purpose alongside profit. Clara started a foundation using part of the trust, helping women from backgrounds like hers access education and opportunity. Sophie became a teacher at a school the foundation supported. Richard eventually found his own path, humbled by watching real love change his brother in ways money never could. But that night, they simply held each other, two people who had found in each other what they didn't know they were searching for. Not perfection, but partnership. Not ownership, but mutual devotion. Not the love that demands, but the love that gives freely and receives gratefully in return. Vincent Ashford had spent his life building an empire. But his greatest achievement was learning that the richest man isn't the one with the most money. It's the one who wakes up every morning next to the person who saw his worth when he had nothing left to offer but his broken, healing heart. And Clara Bennett, who had loved in silence for so long, finally heard her love spoken back to her in every gesture, every glance, every day they chose each other again. Their story wasn't about a prince saving a servant, or wealth rescuing poverty. It was about two souls recognizing each other across the barriers of circumstance and choosing, every single day, to build something more valuable than any fortune, a love that transforms, that heals, that lasts.